Lovesick. I don't know another word like this word. It's like a compound word of two seemingly opposite realities.
Wow.
Love, sickness. It's as if to say, there's such a deep affection that I'm deeply affected. It's an infection of affection. Some have called it the dreadful bliss, the wonderful misery. But my favorite is when they call it the lover's ache. To be lovesick is that ache deep in the soul for the one that you love. And this is God's desired and intended relationship with you, is that there be an ache, a constant aching on the inside. Early church writers tried to explain this feeling of eruption of love sickness by calling it the wound of love. Isn't that beautiful, that picture? The wound of love. In other words, you've been so gashed that your heart, gashed by his person, is bleeding for him. Literally, a wound because of love. Walking around almost like with a vulnerable brokenness where your only consolation is his presence. How many know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That sweet love sickness is God's desired and intended relationship with you. This is why the scripture tells us that the Spirit has sheds abroad the love of God in our hearts by the Holy Ghost. That's what he does. He pours out the love of God inside of our hearts, showing us that the fullness of the covenant, which is the receiving of the Spirit, has to do with a love relationship with him. The definition of lovesick is this: to fall in love to such a degree that one is unable to act normally. This word is in the Bible, lovesick. It's in the Bible. It's in Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 5. She says, I am lovesick. She's sick with love. And she is so taken with him that she's no longer the same person herself. Is there a clearer way to say what Jesus is recorded by John telling them? And think about this. John heard these words out of Jesus' physical mouth and he penned them out. Jesus says, if you love me, you will obey my commandments. It's as if he's saying, if you fall in love with me, you will no longer be able to be the same person that you were. To be so taken with one that you're no longer the same yourself. And it's this sweet love sickness, this sickness of love, that is God's desire for you. There's earlier church writers tried to coin a phrase to explain this inward tearing of love sickness. What do you mean the tearing? Well, on one side, there's an absolute blissful satisfaction, and on the other side, there's a burning for more. So it's a tearing on the inside that happens. And they call this tearing inside of a human heart epektasis, E-P-E-K-T-A-S-I-S. Trying to coin a phrase, or coin a word that would explain this pain, as David Brainerd wrote in his journal. Oh, this pleasing pain, it makes my soul thirst for him. The pleasing pain, the lover's ache. She says in Song of Solomon chapter 2, verse 5, she goes, refresh me, because I'm lovesick. Which shows us that this is what the sickness of love is. The sickness of love is looking to him to be your refreshment. Literally, your reviving in life is his person. So she's basically saying, you're my revival. What's revival if it's not you with me? She's saying, I'm lovesick, meaning you're my refreshment, so much so that I'm looking to you to be my constant refreshment. Without you, I am stale. This is what lovesickness says. Lord, I'm stale without you. I grow stale without you immediately. I need you to be my refreshment.
Amen.
She goes on and she says, sustain me because I'm lovesick. Showing us that this is what lovesickness is. Love sickness is to be infected so deeply with love for him that you feel you can't go on without him. You need to sustain me. I can't even sustain myself. I'm so taken with your person that if you are not my sustaining factor, I don't go on. I need you. This is a dependency created by a sickness of love. And it's beautiful that the first chapter says, oh, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. Not only does she want a kiss, but she doesn't just want one. She wants a life of kissing.
Wow.
Not just one kiss, Lord. Kiss me, but not just now. Let me live a life of being kissed by you. And if chapter 1 says, I'm kissed, or he kisses me, and chapter 2 says, I'm lovesick, it brings me to the conclusion that this infection of affection is a sickness caused by a kiss. It's the kiss that brings the infection. So as you get kissed, you get this disease of love. And this disease of love makes you say, sustain me yourself because I can't without you. I'm stale without you. I can't go on without you. Then the next thing she says is, oh, let your left hand be under my head and your right hand embrace me. I need you to touch me. Embrace me, God. Yesterday when I woke up for prayer, I laid my head back on that headboard and I said to the Lord, I said, oh Lord, today, even as yesterday, touch me that I may go on living. And I feel this is the essence of what she's saying when she says, let his left hand be under my head and his right hand embrace me. She says this right after she says, I'm lovesick. In other words, the sickness of love is a craving for his touch. I have got to have your touch. Sure, obedience is a proof of love. But it's only because obedience is the nature of love. God's design was never to corner men and then collect their consent. He flashes his beauty in front of your face. And he captivates your heart. Because when God has a heart, he has the man. He doesn't want your hands alone. He doesn't want your hands, in other words, just your doing for him. He's not looking for your feet alone. Where will you go? He's not looking for your brain alone. Will you think about me? He's looking for your heart. Will you love me? You think about the very first people that he called out for his own name. What's the very foundation upon which he built them? He said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. In other words, this is my original intended desire, is to have a people who love me. Jesus come preaching, God so loved. And then he explains and shows God's love by dying on a cross. And then the Spirit is sent to shed abroad that love in your heart, showing us that from beginning to end, what God has been saying is, love me. And what the sickness of love is, what love sickness is simply this: a heart captivated by him. This is what he wants. This is success in his eyes. This is the goal in his eyes. This is everything he wants for you, is for your heart to be captivated by him. Shakespeare once said, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the things of this world. He wrote this in his play about love sickness. And so it is. I remember when I first began to feel this affection, this infection of affection that I caught by a kiss. It created a longing for solitude in my life. I would go into my room and I'd spend all day in my room. My parents got concerned about me. They used to be concerned about me because I was hanging out with the wrong people. Then after I got born again, they were concerned about me because I wouldn't hang out with any people. I used to dribble to the kitchen with my basketball, make my bowl of cereal with my basketball. I'll go to sleep, my basketball would be right next to me in my bed with me. And then after I got this kiss, my basketball became flat in the garage. I lost interest. I had tasted God and lost taste for everything else. There was such a kiss that came upon my heart that I became addicted to this kiss. Sustain me, refresh me. You, Lord, hold me. I need you. This longing eruption came up in my heart, and my eyes were so fixed on him by accident, I was so fixed on him because of this kiss. I was just continually taken with him. It's Shakespeare who said, "The lover's eyes will gaze an eagle blind," which means the focus and laser beam attentiveness that the lover has by accident because of a sickness caught by a kiss. And this is God's desire, is to kiss us and infect us, that our eyes will never deviate from him. They'll stay fixed on him. And we'll be taken with him. There's another phrase that Shakespeare says about love. He says, "Journeys end in lovers' meeting." Isn't that beautiful? You know the art of communication is to say the most with the least amount of words. Did you know that? Shakespeare was a master with it. Journeys end in lovers' meeting. That's only, 6 words or something? But all that it implies is glorious. In other words, all the pursuits for relevance and significance and all the things that can be obtained in this life, all of them end by meeting the one that you love. And so A.W. Tozer takes the same feeling of lovesickness that Shakespeare says, and he says when a man finds God, he's not looking for anything because he's found it already. And so this solves so many problems in our hearts. It solves the problem of competition. It solves the problem of comparison. It solves the problem of trying to be relevant and significant and stand out and be someone who's looked at not like everybody else. It solves the problem of trying to, quote, make your life look like something to other people. It solves the problem of having to tell everybody everything God has used you to do. It solves the problem of internal restlessness that is always there. Do they see me? Am I going to be forgotten? Because when you find him, there's no longer a need for anything else because his presence frees you from the need to have anything else. Isn't that it? It's just the secret. And if we'll let him kiss us even today, then what will happen is a fresh infection of affection will come upon us. Our eyes will be set, our hearts will be taken, and we will no longer be able to be the same way that we were. He will overtake us with himself. Yeah. That's good, huh?